Well, first of all, we want to kind of ask you how you're feeling. A lot has happened in the last week and a half. A lot of support from teachers, but obviously this is not the outcome you were hoping for.
Oh, of course not. It's been a very difficult week, since everything unfolded last Tuesday. But it's also been, something that's been very humbling to see and hear, the love, support, and outcry of many people, that are supporting me. I guess a lot of times you really don't know, how you're doing, or if you're doing in their eyes a good job, and to hear, the different responses of people, it's been very nice, especially our students and our staff, and that's what's most important to me is, I've been in education for 36 years now, and I entered this profession with the same philosophy I have right now, and that's do what's best for kids. So, that's really what I'm most concerned about, is making sure our kids are okay.
I know when you first started, you talked about impact a lot. What kind of an impact do you think you have left behind after 3 years here?
Well, I think people know me. I think people know what I stand for. I think we've had some great successes in Central Unified. Our work's not done there. Obviously, we've athletically we've excelled. I don't think we've had more success athletically in our visual and performing arts. We're doing great things. Our band just was invited to a great trip back in New York, and they were there and were the top ranked band that was performing back there. Academically, we've increased every year that I've been there. We're not where we want to be, but I think we were making steps towards where we want to be, and I just think, worrying about the whole child and the collective child is important, and I think, being a well-rounded person that can be successful once they leave school is what, I'm most proud of, is that our kids, I think, are ready, and they do compete once they leave Central Unified.
Sounds good. So now kind of addressing the elephant in the room, a lot of people want to know, what happened at this board meeting? Did you get any indication ahead of time that they were going to vote to terminate you?
Well, no. And one of the things that I think is important is, a lot of the news stories you hear, that I've been fired, and to me, the only reason you're fired is if you've done something wrong. What the board chose to do in my case was they chose to elect a buyout clause, which really is just a way that they can tell me that, okay, thank you for your service, but we no longer want you here. And it's not because I did anything wrong. In fact, I had 2 positive evaluations the 2 years that they evaluated me. I never had received any information from any of the board members in regards to growth goals or anything negative during that time, and so I just think it was one of those things where maybe there was a lot of noise and a lot of chatter out there, and they felt the best thing to do was, if I was gone, maybe some of that noise and chatter might quiet down.
How would you describe your relationship with the board?
I think it's mixed. I think there are some board members there that I gelled with, and some board members obviously I didn't gel with. But I don't think the important thing is getting along with board members. I think the important thing is doing the work and making sure that what we are there for is to make sure our kids are getting the best education and opportunities that they can, no matter who's on the watch. So, and I know in my heart that everything that we were doing for kids was the best thing, and that's why I came up with the hashtag impact 2 years ago when I first started, is because I thought it was important for our staff and our students to hear that their voices are important, and that we will listen and we will do what's best for them.
At the end of the day, why do you think 4 of the board members voted to end your contract and to pay you out?
I think that would be a question that they have to answer. I've heard, the board president repeatedly saying this is a personnel matter and they can't discuss it, well, you know, I don't think, you know, by saying that he intimates there was something wrong or I did something wrong. I know I didn't do anything wrong. So, you know, I think it's just one of those things where maybe they felt that, again, because there was maybe a lot of media coverage and a lot of noise at board meetings, that they felt it would be easier if I was kind of out of the picture so that it wouldn't be a distraction.
So your popularity with the people may have gotten in the way?
Possibly, you know, and if that is what it was, then, you know, I'm okay because, you know, like I said earlier, you know, in all the years that I've been in education, that's what I feel my role is to make sure that, you know, I'm there supporting parents, I'm there supporting kids, I'm out, I'm visible, I interact, and I want to do what's best. So, you know, if that's what eventually, you know, got in the way, then I'm okay with that.
Also wanted to ask, there's a lot of chatter about what your plans are from here. There's a process going on right now to recall 2 of the board members. A lot of them are up for re-election. A lot of people are saying, well, once we kind of clear the board, we really want Mark Sutton back. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think a lot's going to have to happen in order for that to come, you know, to fruition. But I will say this: I love the kids at Central Unified. I think the staff is a stellar staff, and you know, if called to serve again, I would definitely consider that, and because you know, our work from where I started and where I ended is not complete, and there's so much promise and there's so much potential in Central Unified that I feel like, you know, I left before we could see that ultimate potential.
What do you think about the current interim superintendent?
I think the board made a wise decision. I think Mr. Porterfield, you know, he was our chief business officer, you know, of the district. He knows finances. He knows exactly, you know, where we are as a district and where we need to go. We're in the middle of a really big building project right now, and we have a new high school that we're, you know, looking to get built in the next few years. I know that Kelly will work closely with Mrs. Davis and Mr. Collegian, the other 2 assistant superintendents. You know, and they're a good team. They work collectively together, and I think they'll be fine.
Last question I wanted to ask you was, a lot of people are comparing what happened at Central Unified to what happened at Selma Unified. Obviously there's this question of, do you have an issue of getting along with boards? Because the same thing happened to you. You were terminated by both boards. You
know, I really don't know. I think sometimes politics gets in the way, you know, and boards might be listening to people that they trust, that they feel that they have the pulse of the district, and you know, some come in with hidden agendas, you know, so I really can't, I'm not in their heads, so I really don't know. It's just ironic that, you know, yeah, it has happened a couple of times, but again, in my heart, I know, you know, my philosophy hasn't changed, and my goals for kids haven't changed, and you know, I hope the kids, you know, do well the rest of this year and in the future as well. So I'm happy for them.
I know, you know, you're really obviously a really strong person, but emotionally, I mean, this couldn't have been easy for you to deal with this 2 times.
No, you know, I think the first time I took things very personally because it was more or less the first time that I had ever been told that I wasn't being successful at something. This time, you know, I feel like it's way different because I know what I was doing was the right work, and I know what I was doing was appreciated by many, and so, you know, I feel much more at peace this time than the last time, but you know, you're right. It makes you question yourself, and it makes you, you know, think about things. But as I've done that, I feel good, and you know, I know that my next steps and my next stop, wherever that's going to be, will be there for a reason. You know, and you know, only God has a plan for me, and that's, you know, what you have to rely on and what you have to trust.
I suddenly remembered reading in the grand jury report out of Selma Unified. I guess one of the testimonies that somebody gave was that 2 days before the board had their special election, somebody kind of hinted towards you that you might want to look for other opportunities, that this vote might not be going in your favor. Did you get any indication like that from Central this time?
No. In fact, the board never once negotiated, never met with me individually, never asked me one question about anything in regards to a new contract. The only thing the board president one time asked me to do was send him an email asking or telling them what I would like to see in my new contract. Once I did that, my contract was on the agenda at least 6 times, I believe, and not once did I get asked one question or have one discussion with the board collectively in regards to future contracts.
What do you think that says about the board's attitude towards you?
You know, again, I don't want to put words in their mouths. You know, I just find it interesting that, you know, that they chose not to engage in any type of discussion, you know, over about a 4.5, 5 month period.
Do you feel any animosity towards them?
Well, I think naturally, you know, you're disappointed, and you feel that you know, they made the wrong decision. You know, but animosity is a kind of a strong word. I think disappointment is more of a better word for me to describe, simply because again, I know the work that we were doing, and I believe it was the right work to do.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just thank you for the opportunity and let me come in and you know, address some questions that are out there.
Absolutely. Is there anything you feel that we haven't touched on that you want to address or tell the public or tell all the supporters you have out there?
You know, I would like to just say thanks to everybody that has come out over the last few meetings, and again, it's very humbling to know that people are out there supporting me and you know, making sure that they communicate that they feel I was doing what was best for the kids at Central Unified. So that means a lot to me that they would come out and do that.
I know, you know, you said going back to Central Unified is still kind of on the table, but if you do go to, you know, say a third school district, are you going to be more aware of how you communicate with the board?
You know,
do you think you're...
I think I'm who I am, you know, and I'm going to be, you know, I think as a superintendent, you have to be at school sites, you have to be interactive with parents and students, and you have to make sure that the board knows where you're at and what you're doing. But, you know, in my heart, I know that, you know, I'm not going to change the way I do business because I think the way, you know, I do things and my priorities are always going to be with the kids.
Not appeasing a certain board.
Correct.